welcome back to another episode of All Things Ghostly. I am Abby, your host of this lovely podcast. Today we are throwing it back a little bit to a very viral ghost story that was going around in like 2017, 2018 era, and I remember hearing about this a lot and being so afraid of like I would watch those little YouTube videos that would like cover the overall summary of it. They'd be like little 7-minute videos or whatever, and I always remember it scaring me so bad. But today I'm a new bitch, okay? We don't scare easily anymore. So we're gonna go back and go through all of the details of Dear David. Do you guys remember him? I can't believe I'm actually doing this, because for a long time I forgot about this story and like it just completely got like blocked out of my mind, but it got brought up somewhere. I was scrolling on my phone and I saw about it and I was like, oh my gosh, he did exist, or supposedly. There's like this huge debate, I guess, of like, was it actually real or was it not real? But the guy that tweeted these things, his name is Adam Ellis. He claims that he's not trying to prove anybody wrong or right about if they believe in ghosts or not, but he experienced what he experienced. With that being said, I take that as it was real. Now, the reason why people are questioning this so much is because it is being turned into a movie, or it has been. When I looked it up, I saw that it was trying to be turned into a movie, and like production and cast and all that was all Gucci, but I did not see the actual movie. So I don't know if it's out yet. It was kind of difficult to tell if it was released or not. But if it hasn't been released, there's supposed to be a movie of this. So like I said, we are talking about Dear David, which if you do not know, it again was a very, very viral ghost story that really went through Twitter. So basically this guy named Adam, he started tweeting, I think the first tweet said something, which we'll get into all of them, but the first ever tweet was, "So my apartment is being haunted by the ghost of a dead child, and he's trying to kill me." And it was like in parentheses thread, which essentially means like he's going to continue the story with other tweets under it. So that is how this all started out, and it's literally just a thread of tweets on Twitter. I don't know if this is still up because I'm reading just from an article, which you can find in any description box of wherever you're watching or listening, but this one is from bustle.com. So if you want to see these for yourself, you can definitely check that out. But they literally go through every single tweet, and there's a lot of commentary in here, which is why I really liked this article, because it goes past just like the actual reading of tweets. So I'm super excited to dive into this. I'm gonna go straight in, because it's gonna be a long one. There's a lot of details to cover here, and I'm so excited to dive back into the story because the details I do remember, I really remember. Like, I remember, like, what he looked like, which David, I guess is his name, has, like, a chunk out of his head. He's a very, like, small child. I remember Adam's cats were interacting with something in a weird way. Again, a lot of this is blacked out in my memory, but I'm so excited to go through all the details with you guys today. So, let's go ahead and get on started. In case you were living under a Twitter rock in 2017, then you probably caught wind of the creepily enthralling Dear David story, a supposedly true tale that developed over a series of tweets by a writer and illustrator, Adam Ellis. That's another reason why a lot of people think that this was like just for the story, because I think he worked for BuzzFeed, if I'm not mistaken. But again, as it said, he was a writer and illustrator. For months, Ellis weaved a haunting Twitter story about how his apartment was being haunted by the ghost of a dead child named Dear David, and documented all the strange and seemingly supernatural experiences that came along with it. If you're just catching up, Ellis's wakelet, I don't know what that is, serves as a catch-all for every Twitter thread he launched throughout the tale. But we've compiled an even more concise summary, complete with some discoveries made by Ellis's Twitter followers too, which again is why I picked this, because it goes more in depth than just the tweets themselves. So it'll give a little more of the story. I don't know why I'm head bobbing today. I'm like, okay, period. Anyway, to offer some background, the original Dear David story thread debuted during the summer of 2017 and continued throughout the winter of 2018. Throughout hundreds of spine-tingling tweets, Ellis painted a horror movie worthy picture of his haunting, complete with frightening yet engrossing photos, videos, sound recordings, and descriptions of spectral visits from Dear David himself. Whether you're of the opinion that the saga has an exercise in extremely creative storytelling or social media proof of an actual haunting, you can probably understand why Ellis's nearly 1 million followers kept their eyes glued to their Twitter feeds as the Dear David story unfolded. I remember the internet going wild every single time he tweeted an update on this. And again, a lot of them I did read and like talk about on the internet, or rather like listen to people talk about on the internet. But I remember being so afraid of it that I tried to avoid it, but it really was so, like, everybody was obsessed with it. It was so interesting to hear about and see the updates, so we were all definitely taken by storm. Also, the photos and videos I will go ahead and include on the screen as they pop up. The story doesn't end there, however. In November 2021, Deadline reported that Dear David will be made into a movie directed by John McPhail, who's known for his 2017 zombie flick Anna and the Apocalypse. The plot will reportedly tell the story of Adam Ellis, a former BuzzFeed employee, there we go, he did work for BuzzFeed, and social media content creator who becomes haunted by the ghost of a boy possessed by a demonic entity. So it says that the movie had been in the works as early as 2018, but it stalled. So again, I'm really unclear if it's out. Obviously, we're in 2023 now, so you would think it would be. But when I looked it up, I did not see a movie pop up. So you guys all have to let me know if I'm not looking in the right space. But if you're ready to dive into the Dear David full story, we've broken down the key points and tweets into a list of titled and dated entries, complete with embedded media and additional commentary. Okay, so we're just going to skip on to the first tweet now. It is from August 7th of 2017. The tweet that started it all. I'm getting so excited. So he just literally tweets, like I said, "So my apartment is currently being haunted by the ghost of a dead child and he's trying to kill me." Thread. The thread at the end kills me. I can't even lie. Ellis began his story with a thread dated August 7th. In it, he described a weird dream he had several months prior about a child with a misshapen head appearing seated on a green rocking chair he kept in his bedroom. The next tweet is, the first time I saw him, I was experiencing sleep paralysis and saw a child sitting in the green rocking chair at the foot of my bed. He had a misshapen head that was dented on one side. I did my best to draw it. And again, I'll insert the little illustration here. In the dream, the child had gotten out of the armchair and begun shambling towards Ellis, who sat in his bed feeling paralyzed. He awoke before the child reached him. A few nights after this initial dream, Ellis had a second dream in which a little girl told him who he was dealing with, Dear David. He tweets, "I had another dream a few nights later, where I was in a library and a girl came up to me and said, 'You've seen Dear David, haven't you?' I was like, 'Who?' And she said, 'Dear David, you saw him.' She told Ellis that David is dead. Additionally, she explained the rules of interacting with David to Ellis. He only appears at midnight, and if you see him, you can ask him 2 questions as long as you say the words, 'Dear David' first. However, you are never, ever to ask him 3 questions. He'll kill you if you do." Don't do that. So in a different dream, Ellis tried asking David some questions. Back to the tweets. I'm gonna say back to the tweets like every time, but I'm gonna try not to. In the dream, I say, "Dear David, how did you die?" He mumbles, "An accident in a store." I say, "Dear David, what happened in the store?" He groans, "A shelf was pushed on my head." I was frozen with fear. I ask, "Who pushed the shelf?" David doesn't answer. I realize I've asked a third question, which I'm not supposed to. At that point, I wake up absolutely terrified. I mean, at least with the third question, though, he didn't say Dear David first. So I wonder if he did that on purpose or... I don't know. Anywho. Except that he made a mistake. He asked 3 questions instead of stopping at 2. Still, though he attempted to get to the bottom of the whole thing the next day, Googling around for kids named David or Daniel or Dylan or Devin, can't hurt to be thorough, who may have died in stores in New York after being crushed by a falling shelf. He turned up with nothing. Not too long after that, the apartment above his vacated, so Ellis moved upstairs. He stopped thinking about David during this time because, well, he didn't have any reason to. He wrote that he suspected David may have lost track of him because he moved. But then we get to the point of the current thread. So back to tweets. But lately something strange is happening. For the past 4 nights, my cats gather at the front door at exactly midnight and just stare at it, almost like something is on the other side. And again, he has a photo of his cats, like, they're ducked, peeking under the door frame. Like, you can clearly see they're, like, sometimes my cats will do that, but they are attracted to something. Like, it looks like they see something. Additionally, when Ellis looked through the peephole, he said he was positive he saw something moving on the other side. And that's where I am right now, he concluded. Dear David found me, I think. I don't know what to do. I'll keep you updated. When I opened the door and turned on the hall light, nothing was there, but my cats seemed unnerved, bushy tails, etc. And that's where I am right now. Dear David found me, I think. I don't know what to do. I'll keep you updated. Update. For the 6th night in a row, my cat has walked over to the door promptly at midnight and stared at it. And he has another picture where it literally shows the clock that says midnight with his cat staring at the door again. Late on the evening of Tuesday, August 8th, late enough for it to technically be early in the morning hours of Wednesday, August 9th, Ellis continued his story in another reply to the original thread. One cat in particular, I believe it's the cat we'd later come to know as Maxwell, seemed to be especially concerned with something outside Ellis's apartment door. And then the next tweet is literally just him saying what's going on with this video, which again, I will insert here. But I'm going to watch it on silent because I don't want to mess with the audio, but I want to see this. So a little react here. That cat wants something outside of the door. And again, this is the front door to his apartment, so I feel like cats normally want into a door that like has you in it or somebody in it. I don't ever see my cats like wanting to go out of the front door. But anywho, Ellis was curious but still frightened, so he took a photo of the hallway outside his door through the peephole. He had trouble seeing anything in it though, so he bucked up his courage, opened the door, and took a second photograph of the hallway with nothing obstructing the camera's lens. He says, I couldn't tell, so I mustered the courage to open the door. Nothing was out there, but I took another photo. Look at this. I'm scared. Is it just me, or is there something in the first photo right there where the banister meets the shelves, hiding on the stairs? Okay. I'm scared to look too close. Okay, I'm looking. I don't see anything. I see the rail. I don't know. I'm literally like experiencing this all over. So he says, right where the banister meets the shelves. I mean, I see a little bump off the shelf, but I can't tell what that is. Like, it doesn't look like a face or anything or a head necessarily. It just looks like a little curvature, like an item maybe. I don't know, but you'll have to let me know what you guys think. When he compared the two photos, he became convinced that there was something lurking in the first one, the one he took through the peephole, so he took a second peephole photograph just to be sure. He says, I wasn't sure if it was a smudge or something, so I took a second photo from inside. There was something out there. And then he showed, oh my God, stop. Okay, I see it now. It's zoomed in on these second ones. Again, I'll put them up for you guys. You can definitely see that curvature thing that I was talking about the first one. Now that it's zoomed in, it does look like the side of a baby's head. And it's not in the second one. Oh my gosh. This story is so good, I'm telling you. I don't know if I like 100% believe it's true or not. It's still yet to be decided by me personally because, again, I don't really question people's personal paranormal experiences. If they say they're paranormal, I have no reason to question that. But that is crazy. Okay, so it says, unsure what else to do, he deadbolted his door and climbed into bed. I'm pretty scared, he wrote. In the tweet, he says, I deadbolted the lock and got in bed because I don't know what else to do. I can still hear my cat meowing at the door. I am pretty scared, and there's just a picture of his cat with like glowing eyes, and I believe, yeah, this is still by his front door. In the replies to this thread, Ellis also revealed that his building used to be an old house. It had been converted into apartments some time ago. Okay, so this is a tweet by somebody named Isaac Fitzgerald who replied to Adam's thread saying not to be all Dana Scully about this, but is there a chance that what you're seeing in the hallway is another cat or another animal? Adam says, nope, I live in a house. There's no real way for an animal to be in the hall. Another guy named Aaron replied, but you said the apartments above you vacated. Adam says, it's like a duplex. It's an old house that was converted into 2 apartments. Adam then says in a tweet, it's been pretty quiet tonight. I'm going to try out a sleep talking app to see if anything happens during the night. I'm headed to bed, but the cats are back at the door. They only do this in the middle of the night. It's routine now. And he has a picture of him with his 2 cats by the door again. Several nights passed with the cats continuing to gather at the door around midnight. Adam says, and here we go, just minutes before midnight, and it's a video. The little yawn. So cutie. Yeah. That cat is crying. Okay. So maybe the cat doesn't feel in danger by what it's sensing, whatever is attracting it to the door. Because the cat seemed pretty chill in my opinion. He noted that he was intending to get a sleep app to see if he could record anything happening while he was asleep. Additionally, he attempted to draw a line of protection in front of the door with salt, as several Twitter users had suggested in comments replying to his previous tweets. Then he just tweets, they're both there now, another picture of the cats. I don't even know if this is the right kind of salt. And then he has a picture of the salt that he put in the doorway. Things really didn't start to pick up until the next morning, though. Adam says, I used a sleep app to record my apartment last night. It makes individual recordings each time it hears something. There were 33 recordings. That is a lot. In the morning on August 11th, a Friday, Ellis shared the results of his sleep app experiment. Although most of the recordings weren't of interest, there were 3 he thought might be worth listening to a little more closely. Now, I'm not going to play the actual sound clips, I don't think, just because I don't know how that works post-edit. But in the tweet, he says, the first is a snapping sound and what seems like a single step. It's odd because I didn't get out of bed all night. So in that first recording, again, it's just like a snap, I think, like a snap of the fingers and a step. This one is weird because out of 33 recordings, this is the only one that had strange electric sound throughout. So again, just weird static sound in that one, I guess. This directly follows the electric static, another snap, then I groan in my sleep. So again, I'm almost positive that by snap, it's just like that. So I wonder what would be snapping, and if it is David, is that like him trying to get his attention? Like, hey, let me in again, buddy. You moved on me. Anywho, he says, this happened between 2 and 3 a.m. I have no explanation for them. I'll keep recording and share if I find anything curious. However, he didn't know enough about them to be able to theorize much about what they might mean. He says, getting the F out of my haunted apartment for the weekend. Me too, that'd be me. And then he just has like a selfie. The next day, Saturday, Ellis posted a selfie letting his followers know he was getting out of his possibly haunted apartment for the weekend. However, a follower found something disturbing in one of the glass panes in the door behind Ellis in the photograph. Okay. Is it gonna show a zoomed in version? No, I guess I have to look by myself. I'm scared to look. In the glass panes behind him, it says, I'm zooming. I'm trying to zoom. My computer won't zoom. Come on. I see a little like shape in the middle one, but it almost looks like it's a fireplace or something. I don't know. I'm just not going to look into that one too much because I can't see. So Ellis said, I have no explanation for this. It might have been a pareidolia? Pareidolia? I don't know what that is. The human brain's tendency to find non-existent patterns in noise, but maybe not. Okay, so I guess that's what that is. So again, referencing to the sound clips. He says, so a weird thing just happened. Take it with a grain of salt. I bought a Polaroid camera this weekend because they're fun and dorky. Period. I decided to take a few photos around my apartment, and then he just shows a little picture of the Polaroid camera. Late in the evening, as August 13th ticked over to August 14th, Ellis began posting some experiments he had just conducted around his apartment with a Polaroid camera. That specific kind of camera he used was a Fujifilm Instax Mini 9, which seems to be quite popular with the youths these days. I love that, the youths. His first photographs turned out pretty normal. He says, Polaroids are stupid and fun and inherently sort of creepy. I didn't expect to find anything, and for the most part I didn't. I took a couple of my living room and bedroom. That's the rocking chair I first saw David in. They're pretty unremarkable. And then he just has the two photos side by side, which, as you can see, there's not really anything in. But then when he took one of the hallway outside his front door, the image developed totally black. He says, then I went into the hallway and snapped a photo. The Polaroid developed completely black, and there's a photo of it. It wasn't the result of his finger covering the lens. He took another photograph under those conditions for comparison purposes, and the two images looked quite different. He says, I also thought I maybe accidentally covered the lens with my finger, so I took a photo while intentionally covering it. The photo on the left is me covering the lens with my finger. The one on the right is my fully lit hallway taken just after midnight. And again, the one with his finger is like kind of grayish. You can tell like it's not completely pitch black. He even took some videos with his phone of him taking photos with his Instax. He says, I'll record myself sleeping again tonight, and I have sage being delivered tomorrow. As always, I'll keep you in the loop. Yes, definitely get some sage. And he says, okay, one last thing, because I wanted to double check. Here's a couple videos of me taking photos. And again, there's a little just video of him taking the photo.
Okay, here's my living room. And I'll leave that there.
Okay, pretty simple enough, I would say. And then he says in the hallway, so it's a video of him taking in the hallway.
Okay, now I'm gonna take a photo of the hallway just to show you.
I'm afraid of this hallway. Like. I don't know about all this. So that's the photo that he first took.
And as you can see, the first one has already developed. So let's see what this one does. It's gonna take a minute.
It's taking its sweet time, isn't it? Wow.
But it is developing black.
And again, it's totally black. Ugh. Crazy.
So I don't know. And
again, photos taken of the hallway developed black. And then he says it came out totally black again for a second time, shows a picture. The eeriest image of all resulted when Ellis stood inside his apartment and took a photograph of the hallway through the door at a distance. He says, someone told me to take photos from farther away, so I tried that, once with my iPhone and once with the Polaroid. Left is my phone, right is with the Polaroid. All hall light was on both times. Why is it pitch black each time with the Polaroid? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that is so creepy. You can't fake that, especially with a Polaroid. Now, if this was like opposite and it only turned out black on the iPhone, I would be more apt to believe that that was fake because, again, you can edit anything. A Polaroid, you literally snap the picture and it comes out the way it comes out. You can clearly see that's not like Sharpie on top of it or something. So I am way more apt to believe that because it's on the Polaroid itself. And then the article just says, "Hello, dark, scary void. How are you today?" Which is probably something I would say if I was in this situation. So this one guy posted, oh my gosh, this is scaring me now. This one guy posted a reply to the one where he's holding up the two photos, one where he covered his finger, one where he didn't. And he says, "I'm not sure David is still in the hallway. Looks like he's in the shadows just above your Polaroid." And it shows like a little face on the top of like where the Polaroid was. And again, I don't know how to take that because it does kind of look like a face. I don't know. This is where things started to get a little complicated, perhaps inspired by what Twitter user Sai_Ken_editing found in Ellis's previous selfie. Folks all over the internet started running the images of the Polaroids Ellis had posted through a photo editing program to see what they might be able to find in them. They found a lot. In the picture of the two Polaroids Ellis took to compare the first one that developed black on his own with the one he took with his finger over the lens, there appeared to be a face lurking in the darkness just above the edge of the Polaroid on the right. You can see that face in @BeardoRunner's tweet up top here, which is the one I just said. In the Polaroid of the black doorway, a figure looked like it was looming in the hallway. Somebody said, "Yep, I did the same." Oh, I just realized you can see a shape of a body in the doorway. I don't like that. And then another person said, "Easier to see when you do this, and OMG, you got the same image," which again, she just kind of outlines where the body is. And then that same person says, "I just brightened your doorway after taking a screenshot, and I am now freaking." And it again is just another photo of the outline of the body. And even in the seemingly innocuous Polaroid of Ellis's bedroom, some followers thought they might have found a demon in the closet. Oh, I'm afraid to look at this one. So someone named Mary replied with a little screen grab of one, and it just says demon ? I see a little something in the box, but I don't see anything that would make it seem to me like it's a demon. I see like a little red splotch and then like a little white, like it looks like maybe a lint or something. So unless I'm missing it, that one seems meh to me. At this point, it was still unclear whether what we were seeing was actually something or the result of pareidolia, which is that thing where like we make ourselves hear or see something. So Adam tweets, "Folks have been urging me to get some sage, so I did," and then he posts a picture of the sage. Throughout the entire saga, followers had been suggesting that Ellis get some sage and smudge his apartment to cleanse it of bad energy or spirits. So on August 14th, he finally did, although he noted that he wasn't convinced it was going to accomplish much. The next morning, he confirmed the inefficacy of the sage. So he tweets, "But who knows, maybe this will do something. Sage did not work." David had returned in his dreams that night. Adam tweets, "I haven't dreamed about David in a few months, but he appeared again last night. In the dream, my bedroom was filled with hazy smoke." Was that from the sage? Like a remnants of the sage? "But I could see David sitting in the chair across the room. He was smaller this time, almost shrunken. He didn't do or say anything except look at me. Anyway, it feels like a bad omen. It's been 2 weeks and he still does this every night at midnight," and it's the cat again at the door, which I wonder where the black cat went. There were two at the beginning of this, so did the other one like lose interest? Late at night, that is in the early morning really, Ellis tweeted a short update. Maxwell was continuing to hover around the front door at midnight every night. At around 3 a.m. every night, his sleep tracker started recording about 5 minutes of static, and that morning he had woken up to what he thought felt like a small earthquake. He remarked that it felt like there was a storm coming. Adam tweeted, "It's just a whole bunch of small things happening at once. I feel so uneasy, like right before a thunderstorm comes. Everyone is telling me to move, but I don't have any guarantee that this won't follow me." And the next day, that is later that morning, a storm was literally coming. So then after that, Adam tweets, "They just issued a thunderstorm warning for tonight," and then a photo of it saying severe thunderstorm. So he kind of like predicted it. He tweets, "All this ghost stuff has been spooky, but this past weekend was the first time I actually felt unsafe in my home," which I guess this is a different thread now. Ellis began the next thread on August 21st, a Monday night. In it, he described falling asleep unexpectedly early on Friday night, the night that Banana Storm was supposed to hit. It ended up not being as bad as it was expected to be, and dreaming of David again. David was pulling him by the arm through some sort of warehouse. So he tweets, I had a dream that night where David was dragging me by the arm through an old abandoned warehouse. I'm not sure why I didn't fight back in the dream or how he was strong enough to pull me, but that's dream logic for you. No, seriously, I have some wild dreams myself. And when he woke up, Ellis had a weird bruise on his arm. Adam said, it was a creepy dream, but I didn't think much of it when I woke up. I took a shower and then I noticed something. I'd woken up with a huge bruise on my arm and then a photo of the bruise. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. He admitted that the bruise could have had some perfectly reasonable explanation. Maybe he injured himself during the day and didn't notice it until the next morning, but the coincidence was still odd. Yes, that's definitely a huge coincidence. I mean, unless you can say that you oftentimes have random bruises on you, which, like, I can say that sometimes I'll get the odd, like, bruise on my leg or whatever, just from, like, low iron type of stuff. But unless that's your situation, that is definitely of note. Odder yet, though, was this. When he left his apartment to go get breakfast the next morning, something he does every Saturday, he passed by a food cart repair depot that's right by his apartment, or at least it used to be right by his apartment. Ellis noted that he's lived in that apartment building for 4 years, and in all that time, he'd never seen the depot anything less than bustling, but that day it was silent. He tweeted, I've lived in the neighborhood for over 4 years, and the place has always been jam-packed with carts getting serviced, but today it was completely abandoned. The whole warehouse was totally gutted and empty, and he shows photos. Wow, they just picked up and left. When he took a quick peek inside, he found it almost empty. The depot had been completely cleared out. All that was there was a chair, a green one. I didn't see that. Oh my gosh. You can't see it in the photos, I don't think. Adam tweets, well, almost empty. I went inside to look around because I was astonished that this place was suddenly empty after all these years. Basically, the only thing in the entire warehouse was a single green chair, which, like the green rocking chair in his room, and again, he shows a picture of the green chair. From this lighting, it almost looks black, but I can tell, like, I'm not questioning that it's green. Maybe it's just, like, the brightness on my computer. No, it's all the way up. I don't know. But I don't discount that it's green. I'm just saying it kind of looks black. Anyway, remember the rocking chair David had first shown up on? That was green too. Curious. In any event, on his way back from the coffee shop, Ellis saw that the warehouse had been shut up tight. He tweets, on my way back from coffee, the warehouse had been shuttered. It's remained shuttered since. And he shows a picture of the little shutters down. The coincidences creeped him out, but he wasn't sure what to do with it all. He tweeted, the chair, my bruise, dreaming about an empty warehouse, then passing by one, it gives me the creeps. It was a strange weekend, he concluded. Yeah, for sure. Then he tweets, there have been a few small developments in my apartment, but I'm not really sure what to make of them. I just know I'm scared. Threads. So I guess at this point he's starting like a bunch of new threads. At the end of the week, Ellis tweeted that some small things have been happening in his apartment, but they were not actually that small. First, the cats had changed up their, hey, let's hang out by the door routine. Instead of gathering at midnight, they started doing it a few hours earlier. Adam tweeted, I was almost used to routine, so when they started to cry at the door closer to 10 p.m., I was confused. They began a new routine, hover around the door at 10 p.m., cry for about 15 minutes, then wander off as if nothing's wrong. So he's saying they, so the other cat might be there still? I don't know. Like doing the same thing with the door. This admittedly wasn't a huge update, but then Ellis dropped a bomb. He said that he's been getting phone calls from a masked number shortly after the cats did their thing. He tweeted, shortly after the usual cat stuff, around 10:30 or so, I started getting phone calls from an unmarked number. My entire call history for the past week looks like this. You'll notice that I answered once yesterday, and he shows a list of the no caller ID phone log. And it was happening every dang night. He thought at first that maybe it was a robocall, but then he picked up one of the calls. This is what happened when he did. He tweeted, usually if it's an automated thing, if you answer once, they quit calling, so I picked up. I didn't say anything, I just listened, waiting for some automated message to chime in. After about a minute, the static stopped and there was silence. I kept listening. I heard what I thought was breathing, but it was so faint I can't be sure. My heart was racing, so it was hard to hear. Then, just as I was about to hang up, I heard a very small voice whisper, "Hello." Oh my gosh. Something about the way they said hello freaked me out. It wasn't a question or a greeting. Just hello, a flat statement. So quiet I could barely hear it. I panicked and hung up. I didn't know what else to do. I closed all the curtains in my apartment and turned on every single light. Yeah, I would have done the same thing. After that, he watched TV for the rest of the night. He was too scared to sleep. He also vowed to keep writing everything that was happening down, as he said it felt like the only thing he could do. He goes on to tweet, "Anyway, last week I bought a pet monitoring camera so I can keep an eye on the cats while I'm overseas. It's basically a nanny cam that connects to the Wi-Fi so you can check in whenever you want. It runs 24/7. The evening of August 28th, another Monday, Ellis tweeted a couple of things. First, he said that he'd moved the rocking chair out of his room a few weeks prior. Second, he said he was going to Japan on vacation in 3 weeks. And third, he wrote that he hoped maybe David would lose track of him while he's gone. After all, that was what had seemed to happen for a time after he moved to the upstairs apartment. But he also wrote with a bigger update. In preparation for his trip, he'd gotten a pet cam so he could keep an eye on his cats while he was away. The pet cam activates whenever it detects motion, then it pings you on your phone to let you know what it saw. He tested it out during a brief weekend trip, and some of the footage was pretty disturbing. He tweeted, "So I watched the feed again, still nothing. I watched it a third time and finally noticed something." He says, "Watch the chair," and then a video. I think he's talking about the green chair, but there's also like a blue chair. Oh no. Oh my god, I'm getting chills. And then it just stops. Okay, so it literally just started rocking, and then it just all of a sudden stops. Also, for all of my non-YouTube viewers, I'm gonna cut out all the dead air with like the video overlapped, since obviously you can't see it anyway. So if you want to follow along with the actual photos and videos, definitely make sure to switch over to YouTube for that type of stuff. It says, at about the 6-second mark, the green rocking chair, the one on which David had first appeared, which Ellis had subsequently moved from his bedroom to the living room, began rocking on its own. Then, around a half an hour later, he got another alert. This time, it showed this. Adam tweets, about a half an hour later, I got another motion alert. Here's the feed of that alert. And then another video, obviously. What was that? Excuse me? It almost kind of looked like a ball dropping from the ceiling or something. That was wild. At the 12-second mark, a turtle shell, that's what it was, Ellis had hanging on his wall, hit the deck. To play devil's advocate, though, I feel like things fall off the wall sometimes, but if it had been there for so long, why did it fall at that moment? Ellis said he couldn't account for the movement. He said it couldn't have been the wind, as he doesn't keep the windows open during the summer. He didn't know what to make of it. For what it's worth, some followers started tweeting that it looked like a blue chair in the background of one of the videos vanished and reappeared at one point. Wow. Adam tweeted, I hope nothing else happens tonight. Wait, what the fuck? Someone just pointed out that one of the blue chairs in the background disappears in the second video. And then he shows 2 screenshots. But I don't see the blue in either. So is it supposed to be there? I saw it at first. But that turned out just to be a trick of the light. If you brighten up the picture in which it looks like it's vanished, you can still see it. And then somebody replied with the photo of it still there. And then one with the brighter so you can really see it. So at least there's that. On September 5th, Ellis began a new thread with a simple yet horrifying opening. It's happening again thread. He went on to talk more about the pet cam. He'd been leaving it on 24/7, he said, and periodically reviewing the footage to see if it caught anything unusual. And the footage recorded on Saturday, the previous weekend, September 3rd, definitely showed some strange goings-on. First, it caught Maxwell the cat getting spooked by something. He tweeted, "During the day on Saturday while I slept, it recorded the cats in the living room. It seemed pretty unremarkable at first. But then, after a few moments, Maxwell freaks out and jumps over something invisible." My cats do this all the time. I haven't played the video yet, but I think I know what he's talking about, and my cats do this all the time. The black cat is back. Haven't seen him in a while. Okay. That's a little bit odd. Did that green cup just move? Or am I going crazy? Maybe I am just going crazy. But the cat is staring at the cup. Anyway, it's weird that the cat jumped backwards rather than forwards, because I was thinking like he was just going to be sitting there and then he randomly leaps, which is what I'm saying my cats do sometimes. But he jumped backwards. Like he looked back and then jumped, which is weird. Like he saw something behind him. Then it recorded Maxwell standing straight up on his hind legs over and over again. Anyway, the next night the camera recorded a couple more strange videos, which Adam tweeted that one. Specifically, it recorded Maxwell doing this on and off for hours. And then this is a picture. I don't think this is a video. Oh yeah, I see him now. I didn't see the cat at first. But yeah, he's just like standing up on the little couch off to the side. And he was doing that for hours. Wow. And then it recorded footage in which it honestly looked like Maxwell is batting at something us humans can't see. Ellis wrote that he didn't think Maxwell was batting at a bug. First off, he doesn't tend to do that with bugs, he just eats them, Ellis wrote. And second off, Ellis noted that he'd rarely seen bugs make their way into his apartment. Something spooked him, he wrote. The kicker, though, was actually back in that first video, and Ellis's Twitter followers spotted it pretty quickly. At around the 18-second mark, a green glass jar sitting on the coffee table moved of its own accord. I just said that. I knew that bitch moved. I knew it. So somebody replies to his tweet saying, "Does anyone notice the green glass moved?" I knew my eyes were not playing tricks on me. It's worth noting that there is a perfectly reasonable explanation for the jar moving on its own. Another Twitter user chimed in with a link discussing the physics of the whole thing. Ugh, you gotta ruin it with physics. The relevant portion is this. When a wet glass is placed on a smooth wet surface, a ring of water first makes a seal around the bottom edge of the glass. Then, as the glass continues toward the countertop, air that is under the glass bottom is compressed. Under ideal conditions, this small volume of pressurized air is able to support the weight of the glass. The water around the bottom edge of the glass functions as a seal to prevent the air from escaping. For a short time, the glass is floating on the surface of the water and moves with almost no friction. But, wrote Ellis, it's odd behavior from Maxwell in any event. Things feel off this week. I can't explain it. Adam tweets, "I just can't shake the feeling that something has made its way into the apartment. It's odd behavior from Maxwell in any event. Things feel off this week and I can't explain it." On September 11th, the pet cam caught something else. A small knitted cactus falling from that same shelf where the turtle shell hung. Adam tweets, "I hadn't even gotten to the pantry when I heard a loud crack. It's better to just watch the video since the nanny cam records everything now." And then a video. Okay, we see Adam doing his little do in his haunted apartment. I don't know where to look. That's the turtle shell again. Where did the rocking chair go? The green one? He's like, don't tell me this shit is happening again. He's locking his door. Dude, ghosts can go through doors. Don't you know this? He's so confused. I'm dead. Yeah, just leave it off the wall at this point. And then he tweets, as you can see, I slid the lock immediately after realizing what was going on. I also checked it about 4 more times before bed. The thing that fell was this little knitted cactus in a terracotta planter. It's totally busted now. Oh, I thought it was the tortoise shell again, from what I saw. But anyway, he includes the pictures there. And then it says, David does not appear to like that shelf. His head was bashed in with the shelf. Just saying. So anyway, guys, I'm going to have to break this up into a 2-parter because, again, there's so much that goes into this. This is my first 2-parter, so I swear I'm not going to try to do it often. But the next episode of this, part 2, is going to be up next Wednesday, so make sure to tune in to that. Again, there is still a bunch of stuff to go over. It just gets crazier, and I'm excited to keep reading because I get to finish part 2 now, so I get to know all the dirty deeds. But anyway, yeah, like I said, make sure to subscribe to stick around for that. Or if you're listening, make sure to come back. Again, with this episode, I definitely recommend watching on YouTube, which is where most of my viewers are anyway. But yeah, if you are a couple of the listeners, definitely check out the YouTube to follow along with all the photos and stuff. But anyway, I, again, am like enthralled by all of this. This is even crazier than it was back then because I'm obviously able to like enjoy it now without being a little scared to cat. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think about all this thus far. Tell me if you remember it. How did you react when it first came out? All those good little things. And I will see you guys in part 2 of this episode again next Wednesday, from when this is uploaded exactly a week later. So yes, I will see you guys in that one. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night or whatever you're doing. A great day at work, a great day at school, a great dinner, you know, whatever your vibe is. And yeah, return for The Return of Dear David part 2, and I'll see you guys there. Bye, guys.